Good morning and welcome to part 3 of the restoration of this 1946 AWA 509M radio.
Now the next bit to do is the alignment. I'm just going to check the IF cans of transformers, make sure they are aligned properly. I've got an analog multimeter set up here, set to DC, and I've got my frequency meter here, and I've got the signal generator connected. So I'll just run the signal generator up and down until I get the highest reading I can on the analog meter there, and we'll see what frequency we're at. Okay, that's pretty close, and we've got 455, so I don't need to adjust these IF transformers. I should add that I've got the signal generator connected to the grid of the mixer valve via a 0.001 capacitor, so that the tuning condenser is completely out of the picture now. This won't make any difference. Now for the next bit, I've got to adjust the stations and the high and low frequency, 600 and 1500, so I'm going to remove that and I'll put it straight to the aerial input here, and that will include the tuner section as well, so stand by while I fix that up. For the next one, I've got to just set this dial to around there. It says 7ZL, but I can see the signals further up, so I'll just get that about right. I've got my frequency counter set to 600. Now what we've got to adjust is this oscillator coil slug, and this requires me to rock the tuning capacitor and adjust this to get the maximum possible output from this. Let's go up one scale. Yeah, that's good. So I'll do that. So I've got to turn this, get maximum. There we go. So I'm turning the screw, get maximum there. Wow. Getting a fair bit out of that. I didn't. Okay. And then you adjust the tuning knob. Oh. Okay. Looks like that's about right then. So as I said, you're actually supposed to try and get the maximum by rocking the tuning capacitor, tuning condenser, and then get maximum on this. Then readjust the tuning capacitor, condenser, to get the absolute maximum you can between the combination of two. So if you see where it says rock the tuning capacitor, that's what they're talking about. There you go. So I've improved that a little bit. I thought I was pretty close to start with, but that's about the best I can get. If I adjust this screw either way, it takes it off. If I adjust the tuning knob either way, it takes it away, so I can't get any better than that. Alright, that's done. Now I haven't glued this cursor down yet, so that's set on 600, so I just need to slide that along and it should go to the center of that 7ZL. So that's now set that 600 and the cursor's in the right place, or the pointer. Now the next bit I have to do is go to 1500 kilocycles, which is 3AK, right on the end of the dial there. And you should be able to see that. That's that one there. So if I center that, which is about there, that's 3AK at 1500. Now for this one, so the adjustment is this one, which is again the oscillator, but it's a capacitor that goes around the oscillator. So I've got a little tool there, I'll put that in there. I need to change my frequency to 15. With a bit of luck we should hear it. There it is. and just adjust this up and down until I get maximum on my meter, which has moved. Gee. Okay, so I'm adjusting that now, just pulling it out a bit. Get my hand out of the way. Hang on. Just there we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a considerable amount. Because I've played with this, I've had it out and cleaned it, and so I wasn't anywhere near where it should have been. I reckon that's about what we're going to get there, isn't it? It's a bit touchy if when I take pressure off it, it moves back a bit. So just moving it a bit, take the pressure off, and get the maximum I can. Oh, didn't like that. No. Actually seems more stable if I push down on it at the final adjustment. Just tighten this up. It'll probably move a bit. That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay, so that's that set. There's only one other adjustment, and that's this aerial capacitor. And I haven't got the shaft, of course. It's coming in the mail. Well, the brass rod I order is coming in the mail, and I'll have to manufacture one to look very similar to that. In fact, I probably needed to take that out so I can measure it. So I'll probably have to do both those adjustments again. So I'll undo that, take it out, make a new one to match, and then put them both back and just do those last two adjustments. So pretty easy. I have to make a plastic dial cover to go in here. So I've got some acrylic sheet. I'm going to measure that up, and I'll make a replica out of timber, out of some MDF, and I'm going to try and just blow it slightly to heat it up and blow it, and just see if I can get it to make a decent shape. I'm not sure how it's going to go doing square ones or rectangular shaped ones, so we'll see what happens. Round ones fine. So I'm just going to measure it up and try and make a hole about the same shape and size. So I've got some 1mm acrylic sheet here, so that white peels off, it's clear underneath. And I've just made a little form to put it in. So that's about 7 inches, and it's just under 1 3/4 inches wide, and it has a fitting on the back of the timber to attach a compressor to. So what I'm going to do is put the whole thing in the oven, take it out when it's warmed through, hot through, and then put a fitting on there, and I just very carefully use the regulator on the compressor, and it will pump it up. It will give it a dome. I'm going to see how it goes. If it comes out too dome shaped, I'm going to have to put something on top to limit how far it domes out. So I'll have to make something to fit in there, squash it down, and then put the pressure on. So that's what I'm going to do now. I've got to pull this apart again and pull the plastic coating off it, the film coating off. I've got the form and the acrylic sheet in the oven, so it's been in there for half an hour at about 140 degrees C. This is the compressor's fully charged. This is the regulator for it, so I've backed it right off to 0, and it's got a hose connected to it. So when the time comes, I just plug it into my little form on the fitting on the back, and I'll just apply a very small amount of pressure, but it all happens pretty quick. I've got to do it while it's still warm. Alright, there we go. I've got it clamped down, the hose is fitted. I'm just going to turn on a bit of pressure and see what happens. It should blow up one way or another. You can hear the air going in now. Okay, that's not working. There's too much leakage. So everything's moved while it's in the oven, I'm afraid. Let's hope we've got enough heat in there. It's not ready at all. Okay, let's go. So just keep an eye on that. Hopefully it'll pop up. There it is. So how much have we got there? I don't know if you can see it or not. Looks pretty good actually. So I don't need too much. And I can adjust the height just by adjusting the regulator. I reckon that might do it. It doesn't need much. I reckon that'll be alright. Alright, so I just got to maintain that. So it doesn't seem to be leaking. That's good. So I need a bit more. I want to blow the top off. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, I'll just let that cool, leave the air on it, and I reckon that'll be good. Alright, that's pretty hard now. The timber's still warm, but that's the plastic itself's cooled off. Ooh. If you're wondering, that's just silicone paper, baking paper. Well, there it is. I hope that's not too much. Now, it's actually got a full dome on it, whereas the original probably was flat, so I'm going to have to see how that looks. It might be a bit high, it might look a bit silly. So the other option I had was to just put something on top and let it push onto that. The only trouble with that is I wouldn't be able to see what was going on. There's a couple of ways to get around that, I suppose. Alright, so I'll see what that looks like in the radio. If it looks silly, I'll redo it with a and flatten the top off a bit. Well, that's it finished. I've trimmed it up and it fits okay. So it kind of goes in like that. So, I don't know, not sure if I think it looks any good or not. Kind of looks alright. Probably doesn't look original, but see, it does the job. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'll put it in the put the chassis in and just see how it all looks when it's together. Maybe I don't really want to make it again because I'm not sure how I'm going to flatten that, but yeah, it might be alright. It's got that plastic cover sitting there. I'm just going to see if it even fits. I'm not sure how much room this needs. I haven't glued it in or anything. I'm still undecided as to whether I like the shape or not. So that's not quite as hard. That one is. So one end's not in properly. for whatever reason. It's certainly not the dial, that's way back. That thing's not getting it away. So, what's the verdict? Not look too bad. Doesn't look too bad really. I mean, actually looks pretty good. It's fallen in, I think. Has it? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'll just live with it. It's not bad at all. Alright. So now I've got to glue it back in, that's all. So I've got a standard Arts and P license sticker here, so I just go change the names, change the numbers. So the got a photo of the same radio, not my radio, but it's a photo of a different radio. It's not the same model. So it's a 2422, and I think it's a 5 and a 3. I think. So I'm just going to change that to 242253. So that'll put it in around about the right area. Just got a bit of an angle on there to take. They obviously produce the stickers, then they'd run it through a machine and put the numbers on it. It's got 5 tuned circuits on this one, I think. Yeah, so 5 up there. So I'll print that, and I need to make some stickers for the valves. So it's got aerial and earth up that end, and if I can zoom out a bit, it's got earth and it's got the model number. So I'm just going to recreate those so I can stick them back on. So I might grab that. Start a new publisher. Place the old one there, that thing there, there we go. Oops. So engraving up there. Actually, I might stick it down the bottom because it tends to blur a bit. Make a couple just in case. There you go. So the other thing I need to do is put some of those other stickers in there. So we've got, what's that, aerial? And then we've got the 6A8G. Q7G. Okay, we go for quick print, see what that looks like. That's how the stickers came out. Well, I got one of the arts and pieces okay, the other one's caught in the printer, which is what often happens with this paper. So that'll be alright. I'll cut them out and just glue them on the back. They'll look fine. So I might cut these stickers out. Now the transfer is clear, so these are like any transfer, just put them in water and they peel off, I suppose. So there's aerial. So there we go. I'll go and give them a coat with some clear lacquer and let them dry, and then I'll put them on. Well, the piece of brass rod arrived today, so that's 30 centimetres long. So that came in the mail, so that's good. So I can make this adjuster, I don't know what they call it, plunger, piston, yeah. So I can make that. I'll pull that one out to measure. I was going to try and measure it in there, but not worth the effort. So that's the right size, which is what worried me. It's the original 3/16 diameter that we used to use many years ago. So I assume this is old stock, or it's coming from America or England or something. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go to the workshop and try and manufacture a new one. Okay, my next task now is going to be to make one of these tuning capacitor or trimmer capacitor pistons, rods, whatever they would call them. It's just an air capacitor with a rod through the center. So I've got a bit of brass rod, which I showed you before, and I'm going to try and reproduce that. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut it off to the right height. I don't have a lathe, unfortunately. I'd love one. I can't justify it. This little ceramic ring here, I think it just keeps this rod centered in the middle of the little casting or zinc, but I'm not sure what it's made of the tuning capacitor. It has a tube shape on the bottom of the capacitor, and this just runs in the center of it. I think this just stops it shorting, because obviously you don't want the top half of the capacitor shorting to the bottom. So pretty sure that's what it does. So I thought about, I wonder if I could use one of these. If I put a small groove in, just wrap that around and pop it in the hole before it tries to expand again. I don't think it needs to be anything special. So I'm going to try doing that. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut it off, and I'm going to have to try and file a groove in there to fit that in a drill or something, which is pretty ordinary, but that's all I've got. So that's what I've ended up with. It's pretty much a replica of the other one, so just got to see if I can get it in the tube on the bottom of the capacitor there. So there it is. Where is it? So there's the bottom of the tube. We'll see what happens. Oops. There it goes. I think it's got that little bit hanging out there. Hang on. Yeah, that's not bad. Looks about centered. I can't see it's going to touch that. I reckon that's pretty good. Alright. I'll just put the other one up there as well. Let's put the other one in, which is a bit easier than my made one. Yeah, we should be able to pull them up. Is that one? There we go. Is that one? Oh no. Yeah. No, it works good. Alright. Just going to make sure I don't pull it too far. If I pull it too far, it's going to go into the centre bit and I'll never get it out at all. Well, maybe with a hammer. Alright, so now we can try and tune this again with the 2. So that's probably the next thing to do. Now, if I remember correctly, we've got to have the set tuned to 1500, which is 3AK. So that's about the centre of 3AK. So that should be now tuned to 1500 kilocycles. I set my frequency generator to 1500. So now we can go and see how much these. Well, see if it works. Probably the important thing. So 1500 should have a signal there. Yeah. Just adjust that. Oh, not getting much there, are we? Alright, well that should come up then. Alright, so I'll adjust this one. This one will be the first one we do. Try. Turn that down, we don't need that going anyway. Alright, that seems about right. So I'll just try and nip that up. There we go. Alright, good. Now, I'll try a new one, see if that actually works. Might be interesting. Oops, oh no. Turn the volume up a little bit so I can get some feedback from it. Is this going to make any difference? Oh yeah, there it goes. Wow, okay. It's not as touchy as the other one, but it does something. So there we go, all done. Looks good. Very nice. Happy with that, and happy that I was able to do it to well, prove you can do it, I suppose. So everything should be good now.
A global wow.
Crime scene tape.
Yeah.
He just got a knocky.
$612.40.
Sorry, with beverages, features prominent Australian athletes talking about how they overcame adversity to become the legends they are today. This year's guests include Olympic swimmer Duncan Armstrong.
Well, that's on 4BC, which is one of our weakest stations, and yesterday it couldn't get that. It was just covered in static, so maybe the time of day again, it's a bit later than it was yesterday.
881. That's 1-800-961.
Maybe something's turned off somewhere, I don't know, but it's certainly picking
Good
that
afternoon.
up.
G'day, Mark. A couple of years.
Still got a bit of static in there, but yesterday it was unlistenable, so that's maybe it's helped it. Don't know.
10 and number 6.
I can't imagine why it was missing. Why would you take it out?
The exact 33.
Did it fall out and they didn't notice? Who knows?
Park, which is where Chicago University is.
30 years on, but where are we?
All right. Good job. Done. All right, I've painted my stickers with some clear lacquer. It's satin, so it doesn't add a gloss or anything, but it does protect the print. So they're just normal transfers. So I'll stick them in my bowl there, and you leave them for 30 seconds or something, and they just slide off like a normal transfer. So there it is, finished. Looks reasonable. It's probably not as good as I'd hoped, but I really mucked it up by not coating those numbers before I cut them out. So if you use these transfers, give them a spray before you do it. Before you cut it, I mean. Alright, one of the last things I need to do now is put some fabric over this speaker so I can finish it off and I can install the chassis. Now I don't know how they did it originally. There's no provision in the case. Looks like it's just been glued on, but I suspect perhaps they used a metal plate with a hole cut in it and glued the fabric and then glued the whole thing in. I don't know. Very vague. So what I've decided I'm going to do is I've made a mounting plate or a back plate or something, and I'm going to just bolt that through. So I'll put the fabric on here. I'll just glue it on here. The bolts will stick through and I'll just run nuts onto it. And then when the whole thing goes in, this pushes up against the front. Should look alright, I think. Fitted the fabric over the speaker, and I'll just see if it's going to fit. Okay, well, there it is. It's a little weird. Well, that's it. It apparently had a very coarse fabric to start with, so that's all I could find. So, don't know if it looks good or not. Might look too modern. Anyway. That'll do. Now I've got to it's got an issue with the screw holes. They had wood screws in there to start with, so they've stripped out the thread, so I've got to work out how to fix that. Not sure I'm going to do that. I can try cutting a new thread deeper down. I'm not sure if you can do that in Bakelite or not. I'm not sure if you can cut a thread in Bakelite. So another thing to do is to cover cover a screw with, probably get a coarser thread than that, cover a screw with a release agent like grease, oil, something, fill the hole with JB Weld and then push the screw in and let it set. I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. So first I'm going to try tapping it and I'll see if I can get some more thread on. I've got plenty of length in screws, but it's going to need to be held in there, that's for sure. Well, there it is, all finished. Wrong knobs, I've got to get some new ones. Got to source the correct ones, I should say. I did manage to get some screws in here. I was able to tap out the existing holes to a larger size, and very carefully. You've got to do it very carefully, very slow, very painstaking, but I did it. Got the fabric in, and it looks good. The dial looks pretty good in there. I'm quite pleased with that. Works good. So,
whether that's wives, husbands, children, grandchildren and parents. Very cold here in Canberra, but it's such a feeling. Define Aboriginal spirituality.
yeah, so pretty happy with that. It works really well. So just to recap on what we actually achieved with this one is when we first started, it squealed, out of control squealing. You couldn't get very much in the way of stations. So I replaced some of the caps and that fixed that. Ended up changing pretty much all the caps. The volume control didn't work very well, and it found all that guck in it. I don't know what it was. It had a hash noise too. You could hear that. So we changed this 6B6 valve, and that fixed it after we troubleshot it for a while. Did a restoration on the chassis. It was sandblasted it and resprayed it with a nice similar colour, sort of neutral colour silver there. Did a bit of a repair on the speaker, so that looks good and works well. Did alignment, and what else? A restring. Did the restring on here too. We had to manufacture a new aerial tuning slug, whatever it's called. A new brass rod there. That came up pretty good. Made some transfers and stuck them on, so they look pretty good too, actually. And of course we made a new lens, so it actually looks pretty good. I was a bit skeptical, but with it all in there, not bad at all. So yeah, pretty happy with that. So looks good, working well. Not a really attractive looking radio, I don't think. It's it is what it is, and that's what it was then. So yeah, we're lucky to be able to save this one from the junk.
And in Sydney here,
and works really well. So that'll go in the collection, and I'm not sure I'll treasure it, but it'll go in the collection anyway. So thank you so very much, and I hope you enjoyed watching this being brought back to life. And if you can, I'd love you to subscribe, and if you've got any comments, positive or negative, let me know. Love to hear from you. Thank you very much.